Greetings, fellow Gothamites. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And we're back to recap Season 5, Episode 4 of Fox's retelling of the Dark Knight mythology, entitled Ruin. So join us as we venture into Batman's birthplace.
And explore Gotham.
Dragon, is it ruins or ruin?
I believe it's ruin.
Okay, so I got it right.
Yeah.
Yay! I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my inner child, which means I'm proud of my dragon.
I gotta tell you, I think Tiki, we've used that running gag a lot of times. I gotta tell you, in all honesty, I think it's the biggest stretch we've ever made to use that gag.
Oh God!
And we've used that gag a lot. I mean, a lot.
All right. So, anyways, Dragon, let's not bury the lead on this. I love this episode. This is exactly what I was wanting from Season 5. The only caveat, like kind of the asterisk I'll attach to that, is I feel like the Episode 1 cold open is still the coolest thing that we've gotten out of the season so far. Like, that's probably the highest high of the whole season. But I think just all together as an episode, this one was just really firing on all cylinders for me.
Oh, sure, but again, unfair comparison, because that might be the single best cold open in the entire series. That's the other thing, so it's kind of hard to beat.
Well, it's almost like when I said that Inside Out might be one of my favorite Pixar movies, but with the asterisk that nothing's ever going to top Married Life just as a standalone sequence.
Right.
I think it's kind of like a very, very, very light version of that.
Right.
Anyways, so what do you think of it, Dragon? Are you as high on it as I am?
Yeah, I got a real kick out of this one. Again, it's still in that position. Basically, I'm going to echo exactly what Tiki said right now. There again, episode 1 still hits me in like all the right spots, but this is like we're building things greatly. You know, episode 3, I had nothing against it, but it was just like one that I really on a rewatch I fully appreciated. Kind of on repeat viewings you fully appreciate. And this one, I was having a blast with it from the get-go, and I was having a great time with it. It gets me really excited for the next episode. But yeah, this one has some great thematic ties to it, which we'll get into. But yeah, I'm really feeling this one.
Dragon, I just want to point something out right out the bat, even though it comes at the very end of the episode. I'm not going to give away the ending of the episode yet. We'll build to it. Dragon, if the ending of this episode would have happened in, say, like late season 1 or early season 2, it would have broken us.
Quite possibly.
It would have broken us, man.
Well, if that happened in season 2, it would have. Here's the thing, Tiki. If that happened in season 2, it would have broken us. But season 1.
I'm like, wow, we've come so far that it's like I'm cheering for Jim and Babs to get together, and like in season 2, we would have just been absolutely gobsmacked by it, Dragon. We would have been so pissed.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. That's like one of the funnest things about recapping this series just as a whole is kind of like I feel like the saga of our feelings towards Barbara is like a storyline in its own right.
Good.
All right. Anyway, so how's the episode start, Dragon?
With a bear on fire. Well, it does.
Very Breaking Bad-esque, right?
Now, Tiki, I believe, and we'll get this with speculation, but let's just say that visual, a teddy bear on fire, is very indicative of a character who should be appearing very soon in the season. So that's a big kind of I think it's a really subtle hint at the start of the episode. I think it's kind of a little Easter egg. Like if you know the comics, you know.
I had a very precious teddy bear, and I loved it, and I took care of it every day, and it had a lovely, lovely voice. That character?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
Anyway, there's actually a really sweet story with that teddy bear in the comics, but we don't have time to get into that right now. Anyway, moving on. So we
It was my rosebud.
A rosebud that you can stab people with. Okay, so anyway, so we start with a teddy bear on fire. So, of course, folks, for any who've forgotten, the end of the last episode was, Haven, the green zone, Haven, basically a little hideaway that was supposed to be safe for everyone to go to under the GCPD and Jimmy Gordon's protection. blew up real good. And as like Barbara was about to, get her revenge on the Penguin, and Gordon was kind of getting in the way of that. And before like a big decision had to be made, big explosion, chaos, and Gordon seeing the Haven, the symbol of hope in no man's land, up in flames, which again is pretty much like a perfect image of Jim Gordon, a guy champion for hope with like Gotham on fire behind him. That's really just the perfect image of Jim Gordon when you really think about it. And we pick up in the aftermath here, but it's a really well shot aftermath. I love how this opening shot, because we have chaos, we have the aftermath of Haven kind of burning on fire after the bombing, and it looks great. Like we have like little kind of embers and sparks of fire in slow motion as people like running out of the building. Really kind of like post 9/11.
You know what it really calls to mind for me, Dragon? I'm sorry, I know you're not a fan of this show, but the opening scene of Lost, like literally the very first scene of Lost, where Matthew Fox wakes up on the beach and he like kicks into leader mode as everyone's like panicking around him, and the plane, and the ruins of the plane are like going up in smoke, and the guy gets sucked into the engine. Good stuff, Dragon. You'd enjoy Lost. I've told you this before.
The only show with an island I can really take is Arrow, Tiki. That's kind of where I'm drawing the line with shows that take place on islands. All right.
I don't know what you have against shows on islands. I love islands as a setting. Anyway,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like a whole seasons and seasons worth of television with an island.
What about Gilligan's Island?
Well, it's different. That's more like people who just can't.
No, it's not different. That's one of the quintessential island TV shows.
I'm saying that was the original. It's like they just need to figure out like this guy can build so many things out of coconuts, but he can't build a radio.
All right.
Anyway. So off of the professor, back on to Gotham. So,
oh, hello, Jim. I have returned. It's me, Professor Pig.
God.
I'm back from the dead because why not?
Anyway. Well, we're gonna have things to say about coming back from the dead a little bit later on. Let's not tip right. Anyway, so all right, so space again. So we're in the aftermath, a really well shot aftermath, a lot of chaos, gonna run out of the place. And what I love what we do here. One, we see Penguin kind of like he's kind of taking in the horror of what has just happened, because he just made peace with Haven and everything. Like his people are there. They were kind of starting to like him while he was kind of helping out Haven. So again, he was wrapping his mind around not destroying the place. And the minute he does that, boom, kaboom, destruction, a lot of chaos. And as he's kind of taking in the shock of it all, we see Babs behind him kind of getting ready to take the shot, but she too is kind of swelled up in kind of the chaos and the fire and the panic of it all. And she's she kind of sees the dread around the room, and she kind of has a very human moment, which we usually don't get all the time with Barbara. Kind of a human moment, and she flees.
Yeah, again, I'm liking Barbara more and more. She's honestly really one of my favorite parts of this season, completely unironically.
I gotta tell you, again, this little thing, it goes a little long way. I gotta tell you, her best kind of fashion throughout a whole season of Gotham, man. I love the outfit she gets in this episode too. It's like it just keeps.
Well, I feel like this season she's very much elevated to the film noir femme fatale.
Big time, and I love that. Okay, so here's one of my favorite things that starts the episode off. We have Jim in crisis mode, taking control of again, this building's just blown up, people are in chaos, and we have kind of Jim's make or break moment. That, again, does have a really great payoff in the episode, but right now Jim's in control of a situation gone to utter ruin, hence the episode title. Jim's in crisis mode. He's taking control of the situation to save other people. Like he's getting them to medics. He's telling officers to pair up, fan out, go in the building, kind of search for people to save. One of my favorite bits is he has his officers kind of dazed, again, like Penguin, like the whole bunch of, like so many other people are, they're kind of dazed and kind of in shock. And Jim just has this great bit where he goes up to the guy and he shakes him like, "Hey, snap out of it, look at me." Makes the guy look him in the eyes, like, "Hey, look at me."
There's going to be a lot of people hurt. We need to get supplies.
Yeah. It's great stuff. He's snapping him out of it, telling him to get his head in the game, all that stuff. Which, of course, is going to have a really great dramatic payoff later on Gordon here. So, again, importantly, in control of the situation now. And then we have a great bit that takes me back to season 1. And again, I love this episode particularly, Tiki. I mean, don't worry, the whole season's been kind of doing this in many places, but this episode has a lot of them consistently. We have a lot of kind of reference to, like, the earlier seasons of Gotham here. Like, this shot where he just, like, throttles the Penguin, like grabs him by the lapels and he's shaking him because he blames him. He's pissed off at him. He says, "You brought the gangs here. This is on you." And then Penguin's getting into that weaselly kind of season one space. It's like episode 3 of season 1 where Penguin comes back after Gordon says never come back to Gotham. He says, "I told you never to come back here." And he says, "But I've seen the wars coming. I can help you." That reminds me so much of that scene where Penguin's like very weaselly saying, "No, I wouldn't want this place destroyed, and the gang, as far as I know, didn't have explosives." Just trying to get on Gordon's good side. It's great. So then we have a real, and look, this, I don't think everyone's going to get this. It was like one of my favorite bits from Dark Knight Returns, specifically the animated movies, kind of homaged here, where, Gordon and Bullock, talking about putting out the fires. It's like the bit in Dark Knight Returns Part 2 where he says, this is our neighborhood, and those fires aren't going, the fire department isn't coming. We have to put out the fires, and it gets the whole community to put out the fires in Dark Knight Returns. So I always love that bit. So we kind of do it here, like, he and Bullock kind of putting out the fires. And again, the great thing about No Man's Land, you can always track how well they're doing because they have to use the drinking water to put out the fires, which is not good.
Right.
And again, the thing I'm really worried about is that Wayne Enterprises kind of water filtration system getting destroyed in that fire. Because I think it's pretty safe to assume it got destroyed in the fire, which means now all this drinking water they're using is not in good shape. So they're putting out the fires. He's telling Bullock, we gotta look for more survivors. Yeah, Jim, but listen, and there's this bit's heartbreaking to me. Again, it might be part of like a little like a fake out, I'm sure, but I gotta tell you, a part of me really hopes this is genuine because I would really appreciate this more if it was a genuine bit here, where Jim Harvey gives him his badge, which, by the way, is a little fun fact. I have this badge. I take the Comic-Con every year. I have like the Baltimore. I got the especially when I meet Scott Snyder at the Comic-Con, I use the Gordon badge from Gotham. I kind of put in the picture sometimes. Actually, when I met David Mazouz, I got that in the picture with him too. So it was kind of neat. I don't know. I love that badge. So anyway, so basically the badge that he gave Will Thomas, that he gave Will Thomas in the previous episode is kind of like, well, like, give me my deputy kind of moment. Again, it looked like the kid might have been curtains for the kid. And as far as this bit is concerned, it seems that, they find the smoldered badge, which essentially is like that kid you put another symbol of hope is now dead in the fire. And this is all we found. So it's a really harsh moment. And what I love about it, if it's actual, is it's kind of a somber, it shows you the somber stakes of No Man's Land. That's why I really like the oomph of that bit,
What would also be interesting is if it led to Gordon's hesitation about having Bruce as a Batman type figure.
That'd be neat too. That'd be neat. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a really great. It shows you the stakes and again, pretty much the thing we had with Tabitha and like some other characters throughout the season, where again anyone could go. Again, literally in this episode, we see someone who we really did not expect to go. Again, we're sure that person's going to be back, but still, regardless, it's the fact like anyone can go in No Man's.
I have theories about that, Dragon. I'm not entirely sure.
I got theories.
We know which is going to be back, but I have theories.
Yeah, again, we have tons of theories, but regardless, that's the thing. Well, sorry, we're jumping ahead. We'll get to those theories, but regardless, again, that's the cool thing about No Man's Land. That bit just really stuck with me, and it made them not waste the badge bit before. Some people wonder if Will Thompson was like kind of a turncoat, and the jury's not out on that, but I'm hoping he wasn't a turncoat, and it's just kind of a tragic loss that again grounds the series, grounds the last season. So that's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, okay. So let's see. So then, so they put out
pretty effective cold open.
Yeah, it's a great cold open with that bit too. I think, of course, like the fire's being put out the next morning. They've been doing it the whole night. And by the way, we've had Winter Ives. Winter Ives, he's been kind of keeping better track of unfortunately, we don't have kind of the big day counter like we've been hoping. Maybe he'll come with a really significant event in the season, but so far we haven't had the first episode, of course, was 87 days followed by 391 days into No Man's Land. And we haven't really had that, but according to this, after the next morning, we're at day 97, apparently.
Okay.
That's where we're at so far, day 97. Of course, by the end of it, we'll be linking up to the opening with 391 days. So again, at least close to 400 days later. Well, on the whole. So yeah, so it's a real somber thing, and Jim's on the radio telling the government, his kind of supporting the government about the losses. 311 dead, 49 hurt, 2 dozen just missing and unaccounted for. Now, I did find out something big, which I'll speculate on later, Tiki. I found out something big about this episode. So this lady on the other end, her name is Walker. It's Teresa Walker, and we'll theorize about her later. And we know her actresses because I've been seeing this lady build in the credits, and I wasn't sure like who she was in the cast. And of course, like she was the lady in the radio. That's why we haven't quite seen her, but she's been the female voice of the government on the radio, and she is portrayed by Jamie Murray. You remember that name?
No, I don't.
Lila from Dexter. Remember the crazy girl from the second season?
Oh dear God! Oh, you're saying that like it's a good thing.
Well, I'm just saying it's interesting. Like one I never would have called, but again, she sounds a lot older on the radio. I don't know what it is. It's kind of.
Oh man! Oh, that was like. Here's the thing, Dragon. I actually really like season 2, and unlike you, I love Dokes. So season 2 is a lot of fun for me, and I also like the end too. Dexter is literally his own villain in that season.
That is quite clever.
Lila is just she is an uneven element of that season, man.
That is true. Like I won't split hairs. Lila was not my favorite part of season 2 either. But yeah, if I had to pick between Dokes and her, I would pick Dokes. But still,
I love Dokes. I love Dokes. Don't get me wrong.
Like, I know you love Dokes. I know.
I was very surprised when I found out you didn't love Dokes.
I really don't love Dokes. That's the thing, folks. I really
surprise, motherfucker.
That's the thing. He's just unclever Mr. T, pretty much in that show. He's Mr. T without the sincerity. It's pretty much what he is. Anyway, sorry, getting back on point here. The point is we have this Walker character. That's her name. So Walker's the name of the lady on the other end. So she's she's offering help, and of course Jim's he's heard this enough times to know like, okay, you're offering help, and yet help is not arrived. So just turns her off mid sentence. Yeah, it's been a very demoralizing day. Gordon's in a bad mood, as anyone would be after Haven, your big mecca of hope in no man's land just gets blown up unceremoniously.
I feel like this might be a turning point where he's like, this might be sort of low-key him just giving up on the government entirely.
Essentially, that's what this is. Yeah,
kind of like he's just sick of hearing the same BS over and over again.
And I think with the beat that we have later in the episode, I think that's pretty safe to assume, Tiki. So there's an uproar at the GCPD. All the people from Haven are kind of storming into place, and they want like, what happened? Pretty much. So Jim addresses the crowd, just to summarize a little bit here. He offers, he offers sympathy, and he's hunting for the culprit. Again, you've lost people. Obviously he feels that, and he says, "Look, I'm hunting for the culprit. We're going to find him, but remember, even after destroying Haven, they can't destroy the hope that we built there. They can't destroy that. Justice will be done." And then we have some really cutting lines by the crowd here. It says, how are you going to stop it from happening again? It's like these guys aren't satisfied.
The crowd's just like, yeah!
Yeah, it's really mob mentality in no man's land. And again, we get to see how this kind of grates on Gordon. And again, like the hope that he's been trying to build here is really kind of getting scraped out from under him throughout this episode. And I just love kind of what it builds to. So.
Oh, yeah.
So again, we have like Jim and Bullock here. Again, Bullock's kind of like the angel on the shoulders these days for Gordon here. So it was a good, pretty much like it was a good speech. Jim, you tried your best. You're doing what you can. It's pretty much what Bullock rolls, and that's good. It's supportive Bullock. I like supportive Bullock.
For sure.
So Jim's kind of realizing again. Jim's bouncing off a lot of kind of character realizations off Bullock here. We're saying it's going to take action. They want results. They want action. They don't want comforting words here. I got to step up my game. I can't just give them the same comforting words I keep giving them. I can't keep giving them the hope speech, Bullock. I try, but it's not taken anymore. I'm running low. So let's see. So basically, they have a case they need to work. They got to find out who blew up Haven, but unfortunately, the GCPD is barely functioning. Again, kind of these more war times that it's pretty much a wartime setting in Gotham, which means not exactly a case of the week show anymore, to say the least. But they have a case they need to solve. So they have depleted resources, but thankfully they have a really smart guy in Lucius Fox who can run forensics on the building. But again, he's got to run forensics on an entire building with a ticking clock of, we got to lynch the guy, we got to find him fast, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Lucius is an MVP this episode. Like, this is the first time he's had a major role this season, and I really enjoyed his screen time.
Chris Chalk has always been an excellent Lucius Fox. I've always just loved what he's done in this series. He's always been a great introduction.
Dragon, I don't think I've ever told this story before. Of course, nothing can top my epic Mamma Mia Dark Knight story in terms of Dark Knight related stories. But when I was in the theater watching Dark Knight Rises, you know that moment where the that underground bunker is being flooded and like Morgan Freeman's like trying to make his way out of there and then he falls into the water.
Yeah.
Well, a teenage girl behind me, like just the loudest, most guttural scream in the world was just like, Lucius!
Oh god.
Lucius!
I guess her name was Honey. From The Incredibles, Lucius and that's a dumb obscure joke. Never mind.
Oh, dude. I mean that it just it was and the funny thing was like of course me like once the Dark Knight Rises hits a certain point I'm kind of checked out a little bit. And so I was checked out and she was like so into it. Anyways.
All right, so again, bouncing kind of. So basically, Lucius is working the crime scene. Meanwhile, the Bullock and Jim are going to work some suspects here, and Jim's asking if they both spotted. Of course, Bullock. My big complaint with last episode is that Bullock really brought Barbara back at the wrong time. It took the whole episode to bring it back.
I just think that my theory is that Barbara and Bullock just decided to get drunk and go on a bender. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
They said having that drunken conversation they were starting to have, but now it's like gotten more drunken, like kind of more nostalgic. Like, hey, remember?
That's what I'm saying.
They imagine like they were reflecting on season 1, and then we just have this conversation that went on the extended version. We're on the way. They kind of brought some drinks to go, and they're kind of in the car, I guess, or just kind of making a very slow way. There's just, hey, do you remember what Zaz and the Muffins? Do you remember that? Carmine Falcone's place, and you wouldn't give Zaz the. Like, well, what was it? So you didn't make the muffins, but that girl who Fish Mooney planted made the muffins. And you, why didn't you have the muffins? Zaz kept talking last time we saw Zaz. He kept talking about how he didn't get his muffin. Like, why? Why didn't you have the muffin? I don't know. I ate a heavy lunch. I didn't want one. Anyway, so the conversation that.
And then, oh god! And then when she mentions lunch, like Bullock just slams on the brakes, and he's like, "Wait a minute! That reminds me, we have to get lunch."
Okay, and of course, basically, it's just at this point, it's like, what do you mean? Like, okay, listen, Barbara. Of course, it's just he's hammered. Okay, listen, Barbara. Okay, this is what we got to do. I know this place. I know it's no man's land now, but I'm sure if we look hard enough, and that's why they took so long. This is why they got sidetracked. They went on this quest, like almost like a Harold and Kumar quest to get White Castle. In this case, it was to find that hot dog vendor, that burger and hot dog vendor from episode 5, Viper, which most likely will have a correlation. Folks, to bring it all back to being real. To bring it all back to being relative, folks, Viper may have a big correlation this season with the characters going to be introduced a little bit later, the whole Viper drug of it all. So again, we're being relevant.
Sure. All right.
Okay, anyways, in all seriousness, let's get back on track. So they're having a conversation about, I saw Barbara there and she was fleeing the scene. Do you think she's involved? And of course, and Bullock saying, well, that's not really her style. And of course, we have this great line by Gordon says, well, nothing makes sense anymore. So he's going to the sirens. He's going to check things out. Meanwhile, now this is the closest thing I really have to a gripe with the episode. I think it's an easy pass I can give it, but it's just something that kind of sticks out to me. Where next scene, Bruce is still stuck. He's been stuck there the whole night, cuffed to the gate, where somebody basically cuffed him and left. And it's like seriously, like Bruce literally in one of the great moments, one of my favorite moments of season 3. Jerome, he basically cuffed him in front of the, he cuffed him in front of the cannon that was going to shoot shrapnel at him and kill him. And he literally picked up the metal staples that were in his wrist, and he picked the lock, and he got out. You mean to tell me if he can do that, he can't get out of a simple pair of handcuffs? Really? But look, I mean, I'll give it this, right? It's kind of that year one, kind of 0 year mentality. He's still learning the ropes. So I mean, I'll give him that, I guess. I don't know, but it's still a little suspect to me. It's like the only real gripe I have with the episode. Anyway, so the point is, Bruce is still hanging around there, and Selena. And this cracks me up. This is a really hilarious Batman. You rarely get comedy with Bat. I would love to see Batman have to deal with this, like full grown. Actually, I gotta be honest with you, where you have the two goons that he knocked out earlier have woken up because now it's morning. They've woken up, and we have this great line, but David Mazouz here says, "Oh, hey," and of course he's fighting them while cuffed to the gate.
Right,
And
right.
that's oh yeah, it's great. Like, again, it's a perfect thing for like a 0 year Batman to kind of face for like, oh yeah, you knock these guys out. And if you hang around too long, they might wake up. Again, it's like a Daredevil season 1 thing where it's like a Cutman thing where they're not necessarily down. They could wake up or get back up
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, so Bruce he's fighting really well, but then we have we have some great chain combat there, but then we have Alfred coming in to save the day. And hey, it's Alfred. Alfred showing up after a while.
Yeah, it's nice to see it. Like, we haven't seen Alfred since like episode 1, I want to say.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, no, the whole Selena thing. He was in the hospital during the whole. So I guess when Selena was walking.
Oh yeah, that's true. But the very, very minor role there.
That's true. Anyway, so we have. I love this, even though Alfred's coming back and he feels like it's a great classic kind of Batman Alfred scene we have here, where Alfred's doing something to help Batman in some capacity. In this case, picking the lock, and he's making conversation with Batman about like, oh, how's your romantic life, or how are you living life otherwise? Like one of those kind of life lesson conversations. Well, they're tending to something. He says, oh yeah, well you left I have the transponder. You mean someone cuffed you and left the transponder in your pocket? Really, it was Selena, all right. We got to save her from herself, and we have kind of the classic conversation that Batman and Alfred have had God knows how many times. One of these days you got to realize you can't save her from herself, but until that day arises, we should go find her. So good old Alfred, he's not saying nay, but he's like saying, yeah, maybe food for thought. It's Alfred to it too.
Oh.
All right, so then we're at Sirens. So we're at the Sirens. Jim's questioning Babs. Expecting, and Barbara's expecting the accusation because initially I was going to have a problem with a problem I was initially going to have with this episode, but again, they kind of stopped it at every point where I was going to have this issue where people are going to make the obvious assertions like, okay, so they're going to assume this person was responsible for the bombing when very obviously they weren't. And we, the audience, know they weren't, but they're not wasting time there because Barbara immediately cuts off the accusation there, saying, let me guess, you think I'm responsible for the bombings. And of course, they get to the basically cut through it that way, and it's a very noir conversation about realizing that you're worried about the siren. I'm sorry, you want to take us through the scene?
Yeah, sure. So, sorry, I'm kind of my bad, Dragon. My notes are a little hazy here.
Well, anyway, so they have this really great noir conversation, and she's basically worried about the sirens being next, and that's the main thing that gave her pause in the destruction of Haven. If Haven gets destroyed, what chance does the Sirens Club have? So she's worried about that.
Like how she was putting out feelers to see who did it, and someone described a shady guy, and Gordon's just like, really? Shady guy? This is Gotham. You're gonna have to do better than shady guy.
It's a classic Gordon line right there. That's a perfect line right there. It really is. So they get the lead. There's someone held up around Harlow Park. That's the lead that he's working off of, and it says, "What's this going to cost me? No cost. Just do your job. Just bring him." Again, their interests are aligned at this point, despite the whole Penguin brouhaha. Because she can always get Penguin anytime. So, Gordon's getting the call on the radio, and he has to leave. Before he leaves, she's asking, "Did you really think I'd be capable of murdering all those people?" And we have this great, and Tiki, I love this Ben. This is Ben. I gotta tell you, Tiki, this is the thing. I don't mean just to keep going off on it, but this season, Ben McKenzie's playing I think it's the best he's ever played Jim Gordon. I really do this season because he's given the right amounts of pause. It sounds so silly. He's giving the right amount of pause. He's given there's a great kind of like a guy who's just tired of all the crime in Gotham. A guy who's just exasperated. A guy who's not getting enough sleep. Again, that's Gordon to a T, and he's really bringing it this season. He just has this bit where he plays kind of the thoughtful cop, which is kind of what Gordon is in a nutshell. Where he kind of gives a moment where he doesn't have all the answers, and he's saying, I don't know. I guess I deserve that. And yeah, it's good bits like that. I'm really digging this season.
Yeah, and it's just it just kind of shows Barbara as kind of that like classic noir femme fatale type.
Yep. So again, they're really making the right calls with Barbara this season.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's see.
Wonderful bit with Penguin Dragon. Oh my God, this is where the episode really kicks into high gear for me.
You know me, Tiki. I love when Penguin and Gordon are put together in scenes. So I couldn't get enough of this episode with what happens here onward. So Penguin's at the GCPD with goons. With somehow he found goons to work on his side again. So he's got goons. Well, again, a lot of them left Gordon's side. So I guess that's probably the explanation. So you have goons and you have guns, and it's pretty much it looks like a standoff initially. And Gordon kind of walks up there, and we have this great line by the Penguin. Jim, it has become woefully apparent that you are outmanned, outgunned, and out of options. So I'm here to help. And he hands him. So he hands him. I always love this in the promo too. It's like giving him like a bouquet of flowers or something, like an offer of friendship. He gives him this big gun. He just hands it to him. We have this great response, like that's generous of you, Oswald. And then, of course, yeah, and that's just the start. It's just this Penguin's in such a good mood, and I love this. He's relishing this so much, and Bullock has a
perfect, save for the one that we will wrap around the neck of the Haven bomber.
Yeah, like no strings attached, essentially. And we have Bullock with that great line, like, "Oh, Saint Nick's, ain't you like Saint Nick on Christmas morning, Pengy?" So yeah, they're loading up on bullets and guns, no strings attached because you're hanging around the Haven bomber, and of course Penguin's rationale. And again, this is classic Penguin here. We're just like, Jim, I lost people that you lured. I lost my people that you lured with your promises of safety and security. Before all that was incinerated. Of course, I just love Penguin's trying to be tactful. He cares about the people, but then again, he's just being really careless about it. And then they were incinerated again, just mirthlessly put the blame on Gordon and not factoring like I chased him off. Like it's putting all the blame on it's never ends. Sorry, it ceases never to not amuse me just how much that friendship goes. And these guys are he views Gordon as his friend, but he's going to take all these pot shots at him. It's just, oh God, it's never ending. I just love it.
All right, Dragon, I'm going to go, I'm going to run and grab a coffee really quick. All right, I'll be back in like less than a minute, okay?
All right.
All right.
All right, so let's see. All right, so ponies, their interests are aligned to find the Haven bomber. They're going to team up for the sake of justice. Penguin says, let's team up for justice. What do you say? Partner extends his hand. They shake hands, and again, oh God, it's all great. So right now, again, they want to get the Haven bomb, and then they'll sort out the whole again. You stole my people, kind of like the brouhaha they had last episode or two. Because again, they were kind of working together in that cage last episode. So things are. Again, ultimately, we know they're going to be working together by the end of the season, but definitely there's some hiccups within this episode. So it's going to be very interesting to see what gets us to that point. But again, deep down, the Penguin wants to ally himself with Gordon because Gordon's more of the people person. Penguin just wants the adulation. So at the end of the day, these guys are going to make the perfect pairing to save no man's land, I guess.
All right, I'm back.
All right, we're talking Enigma, so start us off.
Enigma. Okay, so yeah, this I really did like the payoff here. So basically, he's just woken up, and I really like the line where he sees the suitcase, and he's like talking to himself. Well, it looks like I've either been on a trip or I'm about to go on a trip. And so basically, he's putting together like he wrote down. I don't have the exact number, Dragon, but he wrote down
1215.
And then he kind of deduces it as inmate.
It's inmate 1215. So it says in at. So again, like in AT. And of course, I love that this all makes perfect sense later on with what happens. So in AT, which he puts together is inmate 1215, 1215. So that's what he thinks. Okay, an inmate. So I got to get prison records. Where am I going to find prison records? And of course, when in doubt, you go to the GCPD, which we're going to go to later.
Mm.
So back to Get back to basic kind of we have this great kind of shot that summarizes no man's land, where again it's Penguin and Gordon just kind of walking through the streets here with Bullock and kind of a convoy of all their kind of pooled resources, with all the bullets and everything. Kind of again right now and kind of tracking like kind of the danger zone. Right now they're pretty safe. It's the safest they've really been in the whole series right now because they got kind of endless ammo from Penguin at the moment. You have a number of people, and again they're kind of pulling their resources. Things are going well, it would seem, and they're just walking just walking down the street on a mission together. So we have this great line, but there's this great defeatist line that I really love in the episode. I think the writing's so on point this episode, where Bullock's reassuring Jim that, hey, forget what Penguin said back there when he was blaming Gordon. Forget what Penguin said. He can't put this all on you. Gordon blames himself for I promised him. Basically, Gordon's blaming himself, and then we have this bit where Bullock's about to say, "You didn't give him nothing. You gave him hope." And right before he says hope, he says, "Don't say I gave him hope. They're dead." It's a sad line again.
Gordon to me.
I know it's the perfect kind of sad sack Jim Gordon line. It's Jim losing his hope and kind of like the hope and the dream that he has at the start of all this no man's land stuff is that he's going to get Gotham through this really bad storm, so at the end they can go back to being a city again. But again, all these changing times, and again, Gotham becoming a war zone, there might not be any law and order to go back to. And in doing that, again, he's just clinging to, I gave him hope, and it was literally blown up. They're all dead. I can't give them speeches. I need tangible results. They're dead. I need them safe, not dead. So Jim's faith is definitely in a precarious position this episode. And again, his optimism is being put to the test, especially with this whole Penguin team up. Him having to team up with the Penguin because he has no options. Because, as the Penguin laid out, in that very threatening team up, when you think about it, it said, hey, I could I could take over the GCPD if I wanted to, but instead he wants to pull resources with Gordon. So he was literally at the mercy of the Penguin with armed men and guns and everything, with them having a lot more ammo than they had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So,
right, so speaking of the Penguin, he literally gets up on a soapbox.
So this cracks me up. Oh God! So this is the comedy of the scene here, folks. So Jim's playing. Okay, guys, we're gonna pair up. We're gonna fan out. Until again, have a really good plan here. Okay, guys, we're gonna fan out. We're gonna find the culprit, because we know he's around this area. He doesn't know that we're here, and of course, as this plan is being constructed, Penguin he gets up on the soapbox with a megaphone. What does he do?
You have nowhere to go. You have nowhere to run. We will find you and we will destroy you. Then Bullock's just like, well, there goes the element of surprise.
It's just, again, this is basically that's the screenshot we went with, folks. This shot cracks me up, and this whole moment, just I love it so much. Again, this is the joy of like a pair of Gordon and the Penguin up, and we toyed with it last episode. We're going full force with it this episode. This is why these two. It's an amusing idea to pair them up, and sometimes in the heat of battle, like we know the end of the season's going to. But really, as it's a long-running concept. Like these guys, like Penguin would make a terrible deputy. The Penguin is not a guy you really want to work with. It's like this Penguin. Here's the thing: the ideology is, Gordon is very procedural, very police-like, and of course, on the flip side of that, you have Penguin who deals in threats and gang mentality. He's all about threats and very thug-like behavior of we make the threats and we draw the people out. And of course, even in season 4 with the whole Penguin's guys under the whole Pax Penguina thing and the whole license thing, kind of teaming up with the GCPD, and Gordon hated doing that. So again, it's more of that here. It's just more literally working with the Penguin and Penguin screwing everything up.
Mm.
He's just completely unaware that what he's doing is not effective. You see this happy-go-lucky look on his face of yes, we're very good. This is going to work out perfectly. And of course, Gordon's giving this look of Oswald, come on, man. Anyway, so the element of surprise is gone as basically a sniper shot. Just he takes out the I love that it takes out the megaphone just to say "shut up." In a way, I just love that. That's perfect. So then the three of them are ducking behind a police cruiser, and then they're all pinned and they're all in a very helpless position now, thanks to the Penguin. And oh god, it's great. So let's see. Oh, yes, and Bullock has this great line where he says, hey, why don't you, Penguin, nice guy, why don't you grab the bullhorn and tell him to come out quietly?
By the way, I really like how there's the election posters of the Penguin in the background.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's the cool thing about this, TK. I've been noticing a little bit this season. I really got a full up close look at this episode where it's so funny. In No Man's Land, there's all about the whole event's all about branding and like people graffitiing like the symbols of their territory and everything, and like flags and everything. And what's so neat is that again, if this is going to be your last season, I love that like Penguin has done so many. It's kind of a fun little tongue in cheek, like yeah, Penguin's done so many things. He's ran for mayor. He was kind of the head honcho last season. He's done all the Iceberg Lounge. He's done all this stuff, and we get to kind of reference all that here. Where logically, he's going to have leftover mayor posters, like vote for Penguin posters all over the place. And he also has like kind of this a lot of the set decorations from the whole Pax Penguina thing last season. Therefore, that's later on we see the whole Pax Penguina, like these big old posters in the trial setting later on. So it's really it's kind of a fun little callback to that Penguin. He's done so much in the series that we keep forgetting about. Yeah.
All right, so they
hear a familiar voice.
Yeah, they're yelling at the man in the window to come down, and the familiar voice says, "No, I'm cool up here, guys. I'm quite cozy, thank you."
Penguin knows that voice, and Jim instantly recognizes it. Zaz! And of course, Zaz
Victor
pops up.
Zasz!
Zaz pops. What?
I'm being silly.
Like Zaz pops up like
it's like, oh look, it's Harvey Dent. He finally snapped from not being given any screen time.
God. So Zaz pops up finally. He says, "Oh, hey guys, what's up?" All right. So meanwhile, before we get back, we check back in on that situation. Nigma, he very conspicuously enters the GCPD, which I got to chalk up to. At the risk of making the GCPD look bad, I just got to assume it's No Man's Land. They have other priorities. That's why they're not.
He's literally just got like this blanket draped over him.
Literally, it's just like a shawl or a blanket. He just literally walks in. He's a tall guy too. He's just walking in with this blanket on.
Like, to be honest with you, it would be a lot less conspicuous if he just walked in as himself.
Pretty much, but that's the thing, It's like it's No Man's Land. Who's going to bat an eye at it? They're all again. They're less worried about police procedure. They're more worried about staying alive, and dealing with people. So Nigma he walks in very conspicuously, and then he goes to the file room, which to me, Tiki, again, this is sort of like another kind of reaching the end of the season sort of thing, reaching the end of the series sort of thing, where the file room where everything started with Miss Kringle.
Of course.
That's a little nice. We're putting him right back where it all started. It's kind of neat. So he's looking for the file, and then of course he finds the file, and then Lucius snatches it out of his hands, and he's caught by Lucius. He's caught by Lucius, and these two have a great dynamic in history where he's kind of kidnapped Lucius. He's done things with Lucius, and Lucius has always outwitted him. It's been great. It's a beloved dynamic.
Well. The second smartest man in Gotham is asking the smartest man in Gotham for his help.
Yes, so they strike it. Essentially, what happens is Lucius has the file that Nigma wants, and the two of them strike a deal. Lucius is short-handed and needs to work a whole crime scene, and he wants Nigma's expertise on the matter in exchange for the file. And of course, Nigma, classic, egotistical Riddler here, he just wants to relish. And the second smartest man wants the first smartest man's help. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. He's having a grand old time. Of course, we have this really great pathetic gag, and I love this so much. I just love Lucius's reaction here, where Nigma is like trying to pull away the file just so he can just kind of snake out of the deal. And of course, Lucius is like, it has this great. Chris Chalk has this perfect delivery, which says, "Just why?" And here's the thing: it's going to be interesting if we ever see this, because we know Lucius may or may not be like a trained black belt. Remember, he took that. I believe he's a black belt or trained in jiu-jitsu. I know he's a black belt. I think it might be both. The point is he's had martial arts training, which again, every time he gets a chance to put into practice, it never happens. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he actually knows that or is just saying that he knows that. That's the weird thing. When he was under the IV control, I don't know. So anyway. These two are going to be off on a merry adventure a little later on. Meanwhile, getting back to things. So we have a real casual shoot. This is the thing I love about Victor Zasz. The man's all about pleasantries. And by the way, it's real quick. Anthony, if I'm pronouncing his name right, Carrington or Carrington. The actor who plays Kerrigan, the actor who plays Victor Zsasz, he's in the show Barry, and he is delightful.
Yes.
He's everything we love about Victor Zsasz in Gotham, but made even better. I swear to you, it's like Victor Zsasz Unbound. That's what he is in that show. It's like he's just.
I'll sign off on that.
It's like funny. He's even funnier in Victor Zsasz, but again, it's like it's essentially it's all the hallmarks of Zsasz, but just even more so. It's perfect. It just I love this actor so much. I love what he pops. It's a recurring role. It's like one of the main guys in that
Victor
show.
Zasz is Norma Bates.
I'm sorry, Tiki, cut out on that last part. Victor Zsasz is Norma Bates.
If Victor Zasz is Norma Bates, then the character on Barry is Mother.
Pretty much.
It's just like Victor Zasz in the most over the top, perfected form.
I think you're right about that. Sounds about right. Yeah. All right, so the heaven is really great, and the thing we love is like these casual. Again, the man's a very dangerous individual. Of course, you know infamously Victor Zasz, he kills the victims and he cuts it on his body. So right from the get go, knowing a little bit about Victor Zasz, you know the guy's scary, but the ever present thing to love about Victor Zasz, he's always like so pleasant and conversational before he goes completely mad in the Victor Zasz territory we know in Batman classically. So that's what we get in this show. He's the very professional, very deadly hitman, but he's so good at his job, he can be real conversational. So we just have this great kind of shootout conversation where he claims his innocence, and and I wouldn't take credit for someone else's work, which again to me, and if you're Jim Gordon, if you're a guy who knows this guy, it's like it checks out. He wouldn't take credit for another guy's work. He's never done that. And of course, the Penguin, just to reiterate. Penguin, and I love how they called this out in the episode because I was wondering if they were going to call this out for a moment, but they did, and it was great. Where Penguin's still mad about Sophia Falcone, and this is made even better by the fact that Victor Zasz says, "Wait, is this about the whole Sophia Falcone thing? You really got to let that go, man. That's not healthy. Hold on to
that." Dragon, I'm sorry. Can you remind me exactly what happened with Sophia Falcone?
There's this hilarious bit in season 4 where Penguin was thrown back in Arkham so he could do the whole thing with Jerome, and basically to do that, they had to arrest him on something. And Gordon, he used Martine. Remember the Martine, the mute kid?
Yes, I remember Martine. Yeah,
and Martine. Penguin faked Martine's death to protect him from Sophia Falcone, and Jim showed up to arrest the Penguin on something. And on the kid's death, which Sophia Falcone kind of sets him up for, and then of course Penguin says he's not dead, and he told Victor Zasz to kind of get the kid out of Gotham safely, and Victor Zasz was secretly working for Sophia Falcone.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was working for the whole, because he loves the Falcone family. He was working for the Falcone family, and basically he says, yeah, he blew that kid up, and basically he didn't corroborate the story, therefore giving Gordon cause to arrest the Penguin and put him in Arkham. So basically he still holds a grudge on Zasz throwing him in Arkham, so he really hates him for that. So that's why Penguin's so blinded by Zasz hate this episode, because ordinarily, he's worked with Zasz before. Anyway, so of course, you're still mad about the Sophia Falcone thing, aren't you? It's not healthy, man. You gotta let that go. Just great. All right, so they basically there's a plan to pin Zasz down. Like Gordon asks Penguin if he can lay down suppressing fire so they can distract him, so he can kind of run up the place and tackle him. Says, for you, Jim, I can give you 2.5 minutes. So in retrospect, they really could have saved a lot of ammunition in this because again, Zasz just really is waiting for any window. They don't have to keep shooting and shooting and shooting. Just because they shot like fire 1, then fire 2 or something. I don't know. But Jim runs up the side, very year 1 style. He kind of runs up while the guy's distracted and he tackles him. And of course, Zasz is drinking a soda while he's waiting for the gunfire to end.
Yeah, I have right. I have written down in my notes here. It's like, come on, guys, you literally just got all this ammo and now you're wasting it.
Yep. Then they're all clapping as Jim brings Zasz out, and of course Zasz is rolling with the crowd. Oh yeah, guys, good work. Yeah. Anyway, so Zasz is being taken to GCPD, but Penguin wants in on the torturing of Zasz because Gordon wants to make sure. Penguin says, "Yes, we should make sure. Beyond, I'm very gifted in the loosening of tongues, Jim. Let me at him." And Jim, of course, he doesn't trust the Penguin as far as he can throw him. He can throw him pretty far. So Jim needs to be sure he's going to do it, not the Penguins. Of course, this lays like Penguins authority's been challenged here, and the Penguins not going to take kindly to that, and that's going to pay off big later on. So let's see. Meanwhile, okay, here's a big payoff. And by the way, I just want to give credit here. Winter Ives totally called this next bit. From the marketing, which I never really picked up on this, and basically our next set piece, we are in the dark zone. Not only are we in the dark zone, we're in the soothsayers section of the dark zone we were at in episode 2, Trespassers, I think.
You mean the weird one with the Dickian style people?
I think that I think that was the same episode. Yeah, the villagers, the pilgrims, like those guys. But yeah, like the guys who we have the soothsayers, the guys whose name, the guys with the names that you hate. The place where they got Will Thompson's friends out of. They got Will Thomas's friends from. Anyway, the point is, so we're in the same tunnel location where they're digging to the other side. They're digging a way out of no man's land, presumably. So basically, we learn who they're digging this for. We assumed it was Bane, and necessarily it may not be. Well, it may or may not be, but regardless, who's commissioned the digging of the hole. It's not the soothsayers in themselves. They're not working directly for Bane, if anyone. They're working with and for Jeremiah. Yeah, so Jeremiah's made his first big appearance in the show. So Selena's tracked Proto Harley and the followers from the last episode. She's tracked them down to the Soothsayers' territory where they are. Where basically Jeremiah is inducting the followers and adding the followers to the Soothsayers' kind of army so they can dig the hole. That's pretty much what he wants the followers for. So Sykes, and this is a great reintroduction of Jeremiah, by the way. Sykes, the guy who survived that big shootout from the ending of that episode. Sykes is he's telling Jeremiah we won't be able to break through for a couple more days, which means we won't be on schedule. And as he says that, the instant he says not on schedule, throat gets slit with a straight razor. Of course, I'm really tense around straight razors, so that bit oh god. So he slits the guy's throat.
In the box cutter vein, where there's not a ton of blood, it just kind of slowly bleeds out, and he very slowly chokes to death.
Oh yeah, it's horrifying. And of course, as he's bleeding out, we have this great line by Jeremiah. Again, perfect reveal of him in the white getup and everything, which says, "Not with that attitude, you're not." And of course, his big mantra to everybody says, "Okay, everybody, let's reach inside. Not unless you reach inside and dig
let's
a little."
The Princess and the Frog and dig a little deeper. And then he licks the straight razor.
Yep, he licks the straight razor like it was a lollipop or something.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of this Tootsie Pop? 1, 2, ah!
The world may never know. Anyway, so we have this. So basically, he's been threatening these guys and working them to death, and that's pretty much why they're not going to make it on schedule because they've been not taking breaks and been working through things. So Jeremiah wants to get he wants to dig a hole, presumably out of no man's land. He wants to do it really fast. So it's going to be interesting to speculate about later on. But he tells them they're not making it out of this hole until they dig a little deeper. He's been torturing them with that mantra, and he licks the knife. Now, again, with this look and this knife look, Tiki, what do you think about the new look for Jeremiah? Now you get to see a lot better.
Oh, I really dig it, man. I love the white.
I gotta tell you, with the performance and look, the whole shebang that we get here, I gotta tell you, it's a combination of, for me, I think, because bear in mind, we had Jerome for many a spell, and now we have kind of a different kind of take on it with Jeremiah, and the idea is Jeremiah's been getting crazier and crazier, especially in No Man's Land, but I love what we have here. I think he's finally settled into a really great take on Jeremiah, the Jeremiah version of the Proto-Joker. I love there's a touch of Mark Hamill in the way he's saying these lines. There's a lot of touch of Mark Hamill with the whole. It's vaguely British, vaguely kind of Blue Meanie-esque, which kind of fits the whole Mark Hamill overall right there. It's just let's dig a little deeper, that whole thing. The straight razor and kind of the bloody gruesomeness of it all reminds me of Grant Morrison's Joker, because Grant Morrison's Joker infamously uses straight razors, and he's really creepy like that. And I got to tell you, on the whole, it's kind of, I think the people, the easy go-to would be Jack Nicholson for the look. But what I think it really reminds me of, personally? 40s Joker from the very beginning, where he wore the big brimmed hat and everything in the beginning. So it feels, and the whole, the straight razor and the whole gas slow smiles and everything, I don't know, the whole shebang Feels
Yeah, to
very
me, it kind of
40s.
like almost feels like again to fit with the film noir thing, like almost like a 1940s film noir take on the Joker,
That's what
which
I'm saying.
which fits with your kind of like classic very beginning Joker.
Yeah, I think that's really neat if that's what they're going for. Again, a lot of people are just going to assume, like with the big brimmed hats, oh, it's Jack Nicholson Joker. Which I mean, I'm not going to say it's wrong because it all is still stemming from that version of the Joker. But it's still, again, it feels being with the noir thing, it feels perfectly perfectly matched with like 40s Joker. Which again, like the first appearance of Joker, again, it feels very applicable. If we're going to do the first appearance of Joker esque, we're going to fit perfectly with kind of a year one proto Batman. It kind of fit. Yeah, no, it fits really well.
Hmm.
All right, so let's see. So then, okay, so after that, now this is very interesting. I caught this on a rewatch. Jeremiah's muttering something before our proto Harley makes her way into the scene here. He's muttering something that is uh, basically the presumably the body. Oh boy, this body will make a great gift for someone. Basically, it'll make it. He's going back and forth. It'll make a great gift. No, yes, no, yes. Basically, it'll make a gift for someone. We don't know who that someone is now. It could be Bruce. It could be someone else, perhaps. I don't know. Jeremiah's trying to please somebody, and that's interesting. So. Little note for later on. I don't know. Anyway, so Proto Harley shows up with the recruits, and he's asking, "Are these all the recruits?" And she's saying, "Well, I thought you wanted quality over quantity," which leads to, I believe, Winter Eye's favorite part of the episode, by the way. And I really do love this bit too. What did you think of the? Tell him what happened, Steve. What did you think of this bit?
Well, Joker basically, or I'm sorry, Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, like he grabs her, but he strangles her with one hand.
Yeah, yeah, very brutally, and he's just like, I'm sorry, hold on, he's just, yeah, you certainly have set a very high bar for devotion, and then of course he brings her into a dance almost.
Now, this feels like a combination of a super iconic, one of the most iconic Joker Harley images, Tiki,
Of
ever.
course.
Alex Ross's beautiful painting of Harley and Joker dancing. And also reminds me a little bit of Batman '89 when he's dancing with Vicky Vale. I gotta be honest, it's kind of a little bit of that too. It's mostly the Alex Ross thing. And of course, again, this is great. I love with that line too. You've set such a high bar for devotion. And this is the perfect line of like kind of your proto Harley, proto Joker thing here, where it's it's Joker again complimenting her, but at the same time kind of critiquing her by saying like, you personally, you are the most devoted person I know, without saying that. He's saying you're the most devoted person I know. Therefore, you've set the high bar. By the same token, it's like you, as the taskmaster, set a high bar for what counts as devotion. You can read it both ways. But the great thing is, and that's the thing about the demented, abusive, psychotic relationship of these two, that there's a love there, but at the same time, there's a lot of just it's Joker. He can't. Paul Dini had the best statement ever about their relationship. Of course, he created Harley Quinn. So the best statement he had for summarizing their dynamic is that Joker can't stand to be without her, but he can't stand to be with her either.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is, and then basically you have this beautiful kind of tango after like goes from the strangled to like holding her hand, which is a great move. And they're dancing around. She gives him the progress report, and this is like his way of reward. It's like patting her on the head almost, rewarding her for you've been a loyal servant. Therefore, I'm going to dance instead of try to kill you. So she tells him that Bruce Wayne and Curls. I just love that nickname for her, by the way. Bruce Wayne and Curls tried to infiltrate the operation, and she's walking real good for a paraplegic. Oh, and she wants to kill you, like a lot.
FYI.
Yes. Now, again, this is like a big thing for speculation later on. That she told him this before certain things happen. So it might we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so she's moving out with the troops again, getting all suited up and everything for digging the hole and everything. So okay, she has this great Harley line. You have it?
Yeah, I do. Okay, folks, let's move like my father before my sixth. Let's make like my father before my sixth birthday and move out.
God, very twisted line. So this bit really interests me on the first time I was watching, where we have Selena. Selena's in disguise as like one of the workers, and she's following Echo. She's following Proto Harley instead of just going for Jeremiah. He's like right out there in the open, which I feel is a very it's a very strategic. Ultimately, it's a very strategic move. But again, I was thinking, like, what is she thinking? He's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good payoff, though. It's a great payoff. Which more on that later. So Okay, getting back to things. Lucius and Enigma. Here's the cop procedural we need. Here's the spin-off we need to see. Lucius and Enigma as a team. Take us through this one.
Okay, so Enigma's pointing out the superstructure of the building is largely intact, and that would rule out C4 and Semtex, and then evidence of deflagration would rule out basically he's deducing, Dragon, that it wasn't necessarily an explosion, but it was more something like a rocket launcher, kind of something like what we saw take down the helicopter in episode 1.
Yes. Basically an RPG. They figure out that it was most likely done by an RPG, but still it was definitely targeted for the place that was going to do the most damage, which in this case was the heater, kind of the heating oil system throughout the whole building. Therefore, if you're going to hit this place, you're going to get the whole building.
Mm-hmm.
Basically a domino effect. So they find this. There's this great bit of kind of the directionality of glass, so they figure out all the glass is kind of it's inward where it should be outward if it was like an explosion. Just like basically they're thinking maybe someone planted the explosion on the heater, then realized that it was an RPG from the outside. So again, it's really great detective work on both their ends. There, of course, again I think it's stuff that feels worthy of the Riddler on the crime scene, be able to put this together. Of course, Lucius definitely able to match up with them there.
Yeah.
All right. So meanwhile, Zaz is being interrogated, and we have this great video, just Bullock and Jim are pushing him down the table, and he's just like, "Oh man, this is a nice table." He's being really complimentary. So basically, Zaz here, he was spotted. There are a lot of witnesses that saw Zaz, on the ground when everything was going, going belly up, and everything was going all chaotic. And, he says he was there to steal some supplies, which, again, we saw Scarecrow do this. We've seen many people do this. So, again, it sounds pretty believable. He was there hoping to get some canned peaches because he would trade an arm and a leg for some canned peaches. Not his, though.
Yeah, I loved how he's moved on from muffins and now he wants canned peaches.
Oh, yeah, you can't be picky in no man's land, Tiki. You got to take what you get. Got to go canned. You can't. The world's not all muffins, Tiki. Sometimes it's canned peaches. Portia Thunker, Sorry, it's an obscure All in the Family we had, but a very select few will get that. Anyway, so
he's rationing that he shot at all the cops because it was a group of cops, and also because they were shooting at me.
And again,
really wanted to kill you. Well, you'd be dead.
Basically, they're warning shots with love. That's pretty much how it says. I don't know if he says that exactly, but he says they're all nothing but warning shots, Jim. Pretty much
then I like how Bullock's just like, Jim, do you have a pen and paper? Because I want to write this guy a thank you letter.
A great line. It's a we're writing him a thank you. I love that. Anyway, so the point is, it's looking legitimately like it's not Zaz, but even more so to kind of clear Zaz that Lucius calls in with his findings, and his findings it's an RPG that was fired from a rooftop, which means no, it could not have been Zaz. So again, Jim knows it's always the forensics pretty much clear Zaz. Meanwhile, Penguin walks in, he forcibly sorry.
Hold on. I'm sorry, really quick. I love the line that Zaz has. Besides, if it was me and I blew up that building and killed all those people, I would have covered my entire body head to toe in sweet, sweet scars.
Well, then he has the even better line after that, where he says, "You want to strip search me, and you can strip search me if you'd like. Get Alvarez to do it, though. He's good looking. He's handsome."
I gotta like that. It's like I think Zaz is at least bisexual because of that line, Dragon. And we're being progressive with our super professional hitman. I like that.
Yeah, Zaz isn't picky. Zaz he's into a lot of stuff. You never know. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, regardless though, here's the really thing I love about this line to you. Again, it gives me hope for that. My one of the big payoffs I want with Zaz in this last season. I want to see him with the scars. I want to see him like covered in the scars because we've been building this up ever since the first episode. That he makes the marks on his body, and we have a line of dialogue confirming that. Oh yeah, he would about Zaz being covered in marks. So if Zaz goes crazy at a certain point this season, he's killing a whole lot of people. Like T, even if it's like one of those things where we end the season getting a glimpse of these villains. We just see that one shot of Zaz shirtless with like all the marks on. That's all I want, man. That's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great. Like, whether it's like by Scarecrow's doing or not, that'd be neat to see. Anyway, so Penguin foolishly thinks that Jim has gone soft. Where again, this is one of the things where I would have a problem with it, but again, the rest of the episode's so good. It's like, who cares? It's where Penguin foolishly thinks that Jim has gone soft. We're not realizing Zaz is not the guy. How many times I gotta explain it to you? Zaz is not the guy. Again, Penguin has a vendetta and he just wants Zaz dead, and that's Penguin to it. He wants what he wants before anyone else. And then he basically kidnaps Zaz for a trial. Wants to put him on trial. So, of course, Tiki, as I've been hyping up here, of course, we know one of the episode titles for the season, the trial of Jim Gordon. So we know a trial is coming, and now we've set up where that trial is coming from.
Sure.
Trials, of course, is a huge It's a huge landmark chapter in the No Man's Land book, and of course, was adapted into the Dark Knight Rises. So trials are the whole Kangaroo Court trials idea is a huge fixture of Batman. Even the animated series kind of took a stab at it with the trial, and even Arkham City had like a little bit with trial. Even so, neat. All right, let's see. I'm sorry. The lead up to that line too was like, as misguided as my old friend Jim is, he is right in this instance. We're not just gonna kill Zaz. We're gonna give him a trial. You're gonna try him before the people of Gotham. And of course, as Zaz is being let out, Zaz like throws some shade at Gordon here. Says, "Oh, I see who's really in charge here, Jim." It's like if Gordon didn't have enough on his plate, it's like Zaz taking shots at him. Like, you know what? Like, Zaz is always like the most positive guy in the room, and Zaz is like, it's like saying, "Yeah, I see you really wears the pants around this precinct, Jim." Yeah, it's poor Jim. Anyway, we're on the rooftop. What happens?
I'm sorry. Give me one sec. This is the scene with Nigma, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure I'm not jumping ahead here. Okay, so Nigma and Lucius are on the rooftop. They're basically pinpointing the exact place where the RPG could have been fired. And Dragon, I love this dynamic because they're just kind of like bouncing ideas off of each other and really working well as a team.
Like we have Nigma again. Nigma starts by showing off, but he pieces everything together without even looking around the environment. Of course, then Lucius, or you could just look over here and see the RPG case. Like, oh right, it's
All right, so they know how it was done, but we need to find out who did it.
They find it again. They find a case, and again, they're Nigma's assuming you're not going to find any. If someone this professional probably used gloves, but it's like a 50-50 shot at it. So Lucius is hopeful he'll be able to get some prints off of it and work the case or find something. So he says something really nice to Nigma. Remember what it is?
Yeah, hold on. I think I have it word for word. Let me just. Sorry, my bad. So Lucius, like you said, he gives Nigma the files, and you said, "I appreciate your help, and I couldn't have done it without you. And if you tell anyone I said that, I will deny it."
I love that.
And then I love how Corey Michael Smith just has this kind of like knowing smile, like, "Yeah, I know, I'm a bastard."
Yes, he does. Yeah, it's like one of the smells like it's like an all shucks smile, but all shucks.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like an ain't I stinker smell. Like, yeah, I'm that guy. I've done terrible things. I cut off Tabitha's hand. That was me. That sort of thing. Anyway, that Enigma. Anyway, so So anyway, so Nick was kind of pleased with himself. He looks through the file and he finds the prisoner's dead, which is a no-go. And he's freaking. He's throwing the file all over the place. But then he spots across the way. Oh, importantly though, before Lucius left, he says that he legitimately hopes that he catches the guy, hopes that he finds the guy behind this terrible crime. Then he spots. So after his setback with the file, then he sees from across the way an old woman living across the way in a wheelchair. He says, "Wait a minute, there's a witness." Lucius, of course, it's too late, so Nick was going to look into it himself and kind of relay it back to Lucius. More on that later. Meanwhile, back to the trial. So we're at the trial, and of course, we have the banner gag where we have like the Pax Penguina banners behind to make the place look a little bit more official in Penguin's hideout. And again, as I mentioned, it's a no man's land staple, doing like the whole kangaroo court trial of it all. Penguin as the judge and the prosecution. Again, kind of an undefined judge, but presumably the judge. And here's where we get into the really interesting stuff I really love about the episode here, where Jim's questioning. Again, Jim's asking the big questions here, where he and Bullock are not happy about this, and Bullock's saying, "We can't let this go on, can we?" And of course, he always turns to Jim for the optimism, or kind of like the straight and narrow way out here. And of course, Jim, they're in murky waters in no man's land. Jim's saying, like, look, if maybe this is the place. Essentially, he says maybe this is the place where Gotham's heading. Maybe we can't stop this. I mean, we can't stop this. They're just going to turn against us. What am I going to do? Make another speech? Again, he's asking the big questions here. What am I going to do? Make another speech? And maybe this is what the people need. Big questions.
All right, so Zaz is just kind of calling everyone out. He's just like, "Hey, shouldn't I get a lawyer or something? Like, I feel like my rights are being violated here. Not your right to remain silent." And
then he's duct taped.
His mouth shut.
But again, here's the thing. I love that Gordon's legitimately flirting with the idea. Maybe this is what they need. But then again, the instant he just flirts with that notion, then of course we see, no, we can't let the world. This is all chaos. Like, he's literally, this is the opposite of a fair trial right now. No lawyer, literally the guy's duct taped. Basically, just to summarize the highlights, give you the highlights of the OJ trial here. So there are many witnesses that saw Zaz. On the ground. Therefore, they're all placing him at the crime. Penguin. He then tosses it to Jim again, like throwing just on a whim, like, "Hey, okay, let's hear some legal defense here, Jim. You have anything to say before we cast sentencing?" So Jim, this to me, look, this is something that no one else is going to appreciate, I'm sure, but this to me kind of made my heart sing a little bit deep down. With the history of the show and everything, you know what? We knew from the season 1 that Jim's father was a lawyer, so it kind of touched me that, hey, Jim got to be a little bit of a lawyer in this scene. I don't know. The little thing, I know it's silly. I know it's like, he's got to follow in his father's footsteps for a mere moment there, a big defender of justice, law and order. I know, it's kind of nice. So, okay, he's really effective. He lays out a good defense for him as kind of a closing argument on a whim here. He's doing really good off the cuff. So he kind of walks in there and he tells him the evidence. We know it wasn't basically the whole, Zaz, it wasn't a bomb. It was an RPG. It was an RPG fired from a rooftop, and all of you saw Zaz on the ground. Therefore, it could not have been him. And then he gives a speech where he pleads for justice. Folks, look, you all want justice. You're angry and you're scared. And then this is the bit where he reveals that, and folks, as much as I like to think it, chances are the government's not coming, we're on our own. Of course, the big line of, as one of my favorite lines in Dark Knight Rises from Jim Gordon, we're on our own. It's kind of what we definitely put into play here. Guys, looks like we're on our own. That's the words we were waiting for in episode 1 of this season. So we're all coming, it's gone public now that chances are we're on our own. And what Jim puts into perspective here is, okay, folks, chances are we're on our own. And if that's true, what we do now is more important than ever. This is not justice. What we do now determines who we are. And Tiki, that dialogue really touched me, man. I was like, yes. Again, like saying this is where we draw the lines of if Gotham can come back as a city after all this stuff. Like, it's where he's putting in the people's hands. Like, guys, we're better than this. We're better than this. We got to believe in this. Otherwise, we're not going to have a city to come back to. If the government's not helping us, all the stuff lands on our shoulders. I mean, I thought that was my favorite of the Jim Gordon speeches this episode, really.
Yeah, it was really good for sure.
Yeah. So, Penguin says, "We'll consider that your closing argument." So then, basically, we have this moment where again, I love this. I love that they're playing with the expectation. There's a moment of pause where you think, "Man, they really heard him out. They're giving it pause," and of course, nope. They're all
That
like,
speech was almost as effective as Justin Timberlake's speech at the end of Shrek the Third.
"Oh God, why do you gotta dirty it like that, man? Oh God,
I'm sorry. I'm
it's like the
sorry.
worst. Oh, it's a terrible speech."
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so it's a no go. They're all screaming for guilty, and basically, again, this is the fascinating thing of the episode that really stuck with me, Tiki. Where again, we're seeing Gordon seeing Gotham at its most hopeless, and again, with the show as a whole. Basically, Tiki, this is what the show's been building up to an extent. I know we say that a lot, but seriously, this is like a moment that kind of builds to the bit we've kind of heard from the mission statement of the show in season one that each season the Gotham will get progressively worse to the point where it needs a Batman. Now we're at a point where, again, like the people are clamoring for guilt where there's no justice, and because they have no kind of system, they have no grand symbol to put their faith into. Because of that, it's like Gotham at its worst, where again we lay out justice we put in the people's hands, but they've been burned so many times they can't believe in it. So it's Gotham at its most hopeless, and again without a Batman to field any hope through. Like Gordon's a broken symbol, and now they have no symbol. Essentially, that's the gist of it.
Mhm.
All right, so they're getting ready to kill Zaz. And Tiki, how do they intend on killing Zaz?
Via a good old fashioned French Revolution style guillotine.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. This I was like wondering, well, why don't they just shoot him? Man, that's Penguin stuff. But then I realized, wait a minute, bullets are valuable in no man's land. They can't waste the bullets. They're going medieval now.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, they wasted a lot of bullets just apprehending Zaz.
They did, but that's Penguin for you.
I mean, what's one more, Dragon? What's one more?
That's true. I don't know. I guess some insult to injury. Penguin just got some issues, some rage issues against Zaz for what happened in season 4. Just what? I wasn't happy with this one. Like,
Dragon, I hate to get like super morbid here, but one of the things that's always like really fucking creeped me out about guillotines.
The fact that the brain's still alive for like 3 seconds after the head.
Yep. It's just and in fact during the French Revolution, I'm pretty sure one of the things that they did was literally hold the head up to the audience.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
And so you can imagine those few seconds, like as the brain is processing what's happening. It's just, it's so bad. It's so bad.
I really want to. Oh God, you know what? I'm sorry, I have a really morbid joke here. I don't know if it's probably not tasteful at all.
And so then Nigel Thornberry said, "Pardon, man."
Oh God. Okay, no one's gonna get that, but I'm thinking like if you really want to mess with the guy, you basically you put a blindfold on him, and then you walk through the guillotine thing, you have like a slicing noise, and you freak him out thinking he's alive for the 3 seconds. And you take the blindfold off and say psych, and then and you see it talk. Then basically, well, no, I'm gonna go really dark with that. I'm gonna stop there because it can go really dark anyway. So. I'll tell you later. Okay, I'll tell you later. Anyway, getting back on point here. So Zaz faces the guillotine, sorry, and this bothers me. The Penguin's saying, "Okay, any last words?" And then Zaz like saying things muffled. Like, really, Penguin? You couldn't give him last words. You couldn't take the tape off. Like that bugs me, man. Like Penguin's a guy of ceremony. You really couldn't have taken off the gag for that.
I hear you.
I don't know. Anyway. So Jim and Bullock saves Zaz. It's a very last minute bit where they basically pull his head off the thing right at the last minute before his head is severed from his body. And Jim's rationale, Penguin's like, "What are you doing?" Jim says, I'm saving all of you from making a terrible mistake. The Penguin, of course, as he usually tends to do, he spins it. He's always like Penguin's the king of bad spin in Gotham, especially for Jim Gordon. He's always spinning things poorly on poor Gordon here, where he says, like, "See this, folks? Your Captain Gordon's protecting a murderer over you."
Right.
So Then, of course, we have this great bit. I remember this from the trailers, and I just love seeing this. I really love this scene in context even more so, where we have this great scene where, again, the whole Antigua, what we've been building for 4 episodes, especially since last episode, Penguin trying to replace Jim Gordon as the mecca of hope in No Man's Land. It's kind of like the big go-to guy in No Man's Land. This really facilitates that wonderfully. And again, it's going to be really interesting to see how we get them to the whole 391-day mark, where they're all working together after a moment like this, where he says, "You've lost them, Jim. They don't believe in you anymore. They're mine now." And then Jimmy awesomely kind of shoves him across the room, and he gets out of there with Zaz. Oh, it's a great bit. I love that. So yeah, I mean, and Tika, what the grand thing I love about this, again, Penguin is kind of a savior figure in the No Man's Land book, and I love that we kind of took the time to get him to that place and kind of made it kind of a big event like that. So it's a war for the soul of Gotham in a way. I'm digging this big time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so then we have this really they have a great scene. Basically, things just keep getting better from this part here. So, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, real quick. Winter Ives has made an excellent point I completely forgot about here about Victor Zasz being threatened with decapitation. Victor did decapitate someone earlier in the series, and I do remember this, Tiki. You remember this, where they go to Commissioner Loeb's house, and Commissioner Loeb's guard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Zaz is like, holding the head up, and he's like mimicking, "Hey, you want to get some beers?" Like a bottle of beer. Oh god, it's morbid, but yes, excellent call, Winter Ives. Excellent call. Anyway, so we have a really great scene here. Things keep getting better in the episode here. So I love this scene where Jim has to let Zaz go, and Bullock's questioning this. They have to let Zaz go because they can't take him to the GCPD because they want to see him dead too, because they're not going to get the situation. They're kind of gung ho over there. So Jim has to make a really hard choice here. Where he has to let him go, and the reason why is that he didn't commit this crime. We can't let him die for a crime he didn't do. It's not right. Therefore, again, in No Man's Land, Gordon's trying to stick to law and order, but again, at what cost? That's kind of the thing there. He's going to have to make tougher choices. Like, again, Zaz could always come back later on and make trouble for him, but at the same time, it's not right. Trying to keep the letter of the law, trying to keep the hope of Gotham alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's a Bullock's obviously he's well. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit with that. But we have this bit here where Zaz offers one of the great taunts, one of the great lines, one of those great kind of series in context lines here, where Zaz gives Gordon some advice, where he says, "Jim, this city will never be what you want it to be. It's always going to belong to bad guys like me." I love that line so much. I love this moment. And then Gordon, after all that he's been through this episode, this is what I'm loving so much about this No Man's Land season, was pushing Gordon to the brink, to the most hopeless, to a point where a Batman can be the only thing to get him out of this hopelessness. Where it's the taunt of Gotham's destiny, of like Gotham's destiny about being flawed law enforcement, where you're going to need that extra boost from a vigilante to help you get through the days. It's that ultimate taunt, and that taunt is too much for Jim. And basically, we see the toll in this moment. We see the toll that No Man's Land is taking on Jim. We're just being really reckless and just being like, he doesn't care anymore, man. He just doesn't care. We had this. Oh, I lost it.
You want to get nuts? Well, let's get nuts.
Pretty much. I just love this moment so much here, where he walks a couple paces out and he tells Harvey to give Zaz his gun. Like, Harvey, give Zaz your gun. Give him your gun. Of course, he pulls the gun out, and of course, both Bullock and Zaz like, wait, what? What's going on here? It's a really awesomely.
I love how Zaz is just as confused as Bullock.
Oh god, it's so great. Basically, he wants to have like an old-fashioned draw in the Old West.
Jim, you know I'd kill you, right? Harvey too.
Yep. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just tired of listening to you, Victor. Which, again, that's the line where Jim's just so tired of it all, man. He's just tired of, like, the bad guys just kind of rubbing in his face that Gotham's no more, that you failed, that, No Man's Land, it's a dead zone, man. Just give it up to crime. Like, you're the only force trying to preserve order in here, man. Just give it up. So he's just so tired of it all. So he's just going to take his chances of either dying or killing Victor here to prove a point. It's a really great tense scene where, like, he's just like, do it! He's just yelling at him to fire, to shut up and take the shot. And then, of course, Zaz here again. Again, Zaz does have an honor code. He does kind of like these guys. So he's just, he's just, you know what? You seem tired. Let's do this another day, yeah? And of course, Gordon kind of stands his ground here, saying, and I like to think that Gordon's kind of making a point here, saying, Zaz isn't all bad. That's what I like to think. He's kind of making a point here, but I don't know. Maybe he's saying that Zaz has a code here. They wouldn't kill him in cold blood like this, where he has this line that says, where people like you try to own this city, but never will. But you never will. See you around, Jim. But again, I think Zaz is kind of touched by this a little bit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So Bullock's obviously concerned with all this. Is like, Jim, never ask me to do that again. Pull yourself together.
I love Bullock's reaction here.
And again, that line, pull yourself together, it circles back to the very beginning, Tiki, where Gordon, again, was the guy in control during the fire, during Haven going down. He's like snapping officers out of it, telling them to pull themselves together. And good. And this is basically Gordon had a delayed reaction to all of that. Haven going down had a big impact on him, and that's what's happening right now. It's all up, man. This is great storytelling. I'm loving it.
All right.
Then we have some really great stealth takedowns back in kind of the dark zone, where we have Bruce and Alfred kind of taking them down year one style, and taking down a bunch of Jeremiah's followers, sorry, taking them down really cool, really well shot, I thought. Let's see. So then, basically they're about to make their move there to kind of save Selena from herself, but then we have Jeremiah giving more words of wisdom here, like a river. Like the way a river gets through a rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence. Basically like how you have to dig a little deeper. And as he says that, we see what seems to be Echo walking up to him in the robes and everything. But of course, we reveal it's Selena wearing Echo's. Basically, she mugged Echo of her proto Harley getup, donned it so she can get close enough to him like before, and then stabbed him. And I mean, stabbed him really.
Yeah, this is
like Dark Knight Returns stabbed him, man.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying Dark Knight Returns multiple Joker stabbing Batman multiple times. She stabbed him 9 times. I'm gonna go Ferris Bueller.
9 times. That's the number.
9 times, 8 or 9 times. That's what I'm saying. I counted 9. It could have been 8, but yeah. I'm saying that's not the number in Dark Knight Returns. I'm saying if that's a number.
I know. Yeah.
And of course, she's saying, "Don't say anything." She's telling him to shut up as she's stabbing him, and oh god! And of course, Bruce stops her before she just keeps going and just tells him it's over. And we see Jeremiah just kind of fall to the ground, and we see he's stabbed and he's bleeding and everything. Then basically they're fighting a lot of the followers here, basically making their escape. Alfred pulls a smoke bomb, and then they leave. And one of my favorite things about this, Tiki, is we have a beautiful shot that says all you need to here, where Jeremiah's on the ground, seemingly dead, but we have a smoke bomb going off that obscures him in the smoke, which is a classic kind of Joker fake death move. And I'll remind you, Tiki, the first death that the Joker ever had was, I don't know, technically Joker's had 2 first deaths. There's when he was falling, which was, sorry, let me rephrase that. Okay, no, here's how it went. Batman stopped Joker from falling in the early Batman comics, but the first quote-unquote death of the Joker is that he was stabbed by a Joker Venom knife. He was stabbed by a Joker Venom knife. That's how he first died. And of course, he missed his heart by that much, and that was kind of the The point of stabbing is kind of a little early 40s Joker calls. I don't know. Maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's just completely coincidental. I don't know. Anyway. But, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was definitely definitely unexpected, Dragon. It's just oh boy, okay, that is this is happening maybe 3 or 4 episodes earlier than I was expecting it to.
I was definitely shocked myself. Oh my god, she actually did it.
Wow. I like it because it makes it tracks with her character. She's brutal at this point in the series. And there's no reason why she wouldn't just go all guns out once she had access to him. So I like that they didn't make up some sort of bullshit, reason why she doesn't go through with it.
Again, the interesting thing, too, is that, of course, in the whole history of Batman and Joker, the love triangle, as it were, is Batman, Joker, Catwoman. So I love that, Jeremiah has been killed, seemingly, and Bruce is going to probably, this probably is going to break him up. But the fact that Jeremiah is what's going to break them up. Again, we already had that in the symbolic sense earlier, but now we have it in the literal sense where, oh, wow. So this is the point where these two are going to have a falling out. Wow, it's going to be, all because of the arch enemy. It's interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's like, where does Bruce's loyalties really lie? It's like the code for not killing, and of course the death of Jeremiah. It's like it's a muddy water for the whole Batman Catwoman getting like, these two kids getting together. It's not in the cards for reasons like these. All right, let's see. So, Nigma. Okay, I'll go. This scene is this. Okay, this scene right here. This is class. This is season 1 Gotham, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nigma visits the old woman in the wheelchair's apartment, and of course, the minute he goes to the apartment, it's 12:15, which is what the number he wrote on his hand was from earlier. So again, you get it. It's like in AT, so the P was smudged out there. So in apartment, 12:15. So again, he's there. He's putting it together. He's really excited now. Says, "It's me." She panics. "Oh no, not you!" And of course, he works his way up. He says, "Look, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to know what you saw. I just want to know what you saw." And she tells him, and Tiki, what does she tell him? Big reveal. What does she tell him?
What a twist! It was Nigma that fired the rocket launcher.
Yes, and then as he's putting this together, she clocks him 2 times on the head, and kind of like a link up of blackouts here, where basically Nigma's filling in the gaps and we get a little flashback. I love the style of the flashbacks, by the way. It's like it has a green filter and it's all glitchy, so it's kind of a perfect kind of Riddler with the memory problems visually. So basically, if she bashes him in the head and he's kind of putting the events together that he sees himself, and importantly, he had gloves on. So again, like he's worried, if you're worried about gloves on the case, I mean, he was wearing gloves when he did all this.
Mm-hmm.
And, he fires a rocket launcher, and then, of course, in finding this out, then he, this cracks me up. This old woman, she's just playing all nice. Like, oh, don't worry. It's like, forget the fact that I tried to kill you just now. Like, I hit you twice on the back of the head here. Forget that. It's like, I didn't see anything. I won't tell anybody. So then Nigma, and he's apologetic about it. Says, "I'm very sorry." Basically, I love this. He again, this is season 1 Gotham. I love when we're acknowledging this sort of stuff in the last season. I'm sorry. It's just he pushes her out the big window. I knew this was coming the minute.
This is classic timing right here.
Yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. I saw how big that window was. Like, oh yeah, she's a goner. I know she's a goner. I didn't know what. I didn't.
You're right. It totally is season 1 status, where it's just like it's exactly the kind of like demented humor that season 1 had. The whole like killing a man for a sandwich style of humor.
Yeah. So he pushes her out the window. We have this old lady who, again, she kind of had it coming though. I mean, she instigated all that. She really did.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I know it's somewhere in the middle, but still, she did try to kill the guy. Anyway, so he throws her out the window. With your fall all the way down. Oh, it's crazy, but it's also fun. Classic Gotham.
Oh yeah.
All right, so then we have our last scene here. Really great noir scene, like the most noir scene we might have gotten ever in Gotham. One of the most noir.
It really is, man. It really is.
So Jim's drinking alone again. He's had a really rough day, as we've seen. Again, his hope has been kind of had a sledgehammer taken to it. And we have this great line of dialogue, Teak, and I caught this special on a rewatch that really touched me. I love this line. It's a perfect line for a really sad Jim Gordon here, where she says, she walks in the office as he's drinking alone, and she says, "Spotlight's off. Forget to pay the electric bill."
Right.
But again, Teak, remember that spotlight this season especially is like the symbol of hope and kind of getting people to come to Haven, getting people to come to the GCPD for help and for hope and all that stuff. And of course he's turning it off. And again, the only time I'm hoping like he turns it back on when we have the need for a Batman. That'd be awesome if that was like the next time he turns it on. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, so the symbol of hope's off, obviously. Meanwhile, so Barbara, she comes in with a lead on a guy who sells RPGs, and basically he tells her the bad, she learned of the bad news that some of Jim's people went to the Penguin side, like a lot of people went to the Penguin side, and he's really bummed out about that. Says, "Oh, poor Jim, all alone." I'm sorry, you want to take us through the scene?
I'm sorry, Dragon. Hulu crashed on me, so I don't really have the dialogue up. So why don't you, since we're close to the end of the episode, why don't you just wrap it up?
Well, anyway, so she's saying like, "Oh, poor Jim, all alone again," and he's telling her to get out of here, Barbara. He doesn't want to hear all this. He's had a really rough day, and he's drinking alone to be sad. He's not drinking alone to have like someone make witty noir comments. He's not in that mood right now.
Right.
So, like, I don't need a femme fatale right now. I need the drink alone, Barbara. Don't you understand this? Go drink with Bullock if you want to be all noir and happy. Anyway, so then, so then she again. Barbara's had a moment of growth here, a really great femme fatale noir moment here, where she says, "Nobody knows what it's like to be you, to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, essentially to carry all that weight on your shoulders." So then things get really seductive here. And I love the lighting in the scene, the noir lighting in the scene. Basically, it's the office is in the dark, and we just have like these little glimpses of light kind of coming across their eyes. Like, folks, you can't get, unless it's in black and white, you can't get more noir than this. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, this to me is the most seductive I've ever seen Barbara in. Honestly, the most seductive I've ever seen her. And it basically what they've done here, Tiki, is they pull the year one affair in reverse. Where, of course, in year one he cheated on Barbara with Sarah S, and that's what happened in year one.
God, you're right. It totally is that.
Of course, it's so wacky when you consider we had Sarah S in the first 2 seasons of the show. When you really think about how far we went off the reservation with that, really. But regardless, the fact is, the point is they're playing the affair like the intensity and the passion that the year one affair had. That's kind of what they're doing here. So she gets really seductive and in his face and almost kisses him. Like the quote the movie Hitch. She goes 90, he's supposed to go 10. So she goes 90, and then she leaves. Then of course, I told you to leave, and she leaves, and I heard you, and then she leaves after she goes 90. Then she almost leaves, but then Gordon he finishes his drink. Classic noir,
man. This is like fucking classic Humphrey Bogart move right here.
He finishes again. This is how you know it's a noir thing. He finishes the drink first. Finishes the drink, and then he grabs her by the arm and pulls her close, and we have the most seductive, probably one of the most seductive moments right there. He pulls her in close, and it's like, this to me is the best kiss ending we've ever had in a series of the show ever. The best ending kiss we've ever had. Because remember the one time we had in season 4, we had the Rachel Gould Barbara kiss. The end of the episode was stupid.
That was really dumb. Yeah.
Came out of nowhere and it never was addressed. Do they have a relationship? Like, what? But again, this is fine. We actually have a kiss with Barbara that actually makes sense, and it's great. We have a really great score that follows it. And the ideas, at the end of the episode, Gotham as well as Jim's hope is in ruin. So he's just throwing caution to the wind, and he's kissing Barbara. He just doesn't care anymore. He's like, you know what? I just don't care. I don't know if it's right or wrong. And again, I got to tell you, Tiki, on the grand history of the show, is to bring it all back, make it all full circle with the whole Barbara arc. Tiki, I got to tell you, with what happens to him in this episode. And we joked about this in season 4 that something like this might happen. That events might happen. Maybe they'll get together. Maybe she'll show some progression. Who knows? I'm not saying she wasn't progressing in season 4, but the fact of the matter is, maybe they'll get together in some capacity. But I got to tell you, after all he goes through this episode, I buy it, man. I buy it. That again, Gordon.
I'm 100% with you.
This desperate of space, and he's just
history together. These two have history together. They're both really desperate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm into it for sure.
That's where the episode ends. All right. So promo, real simple. Goes a little something like this. So next episode's called Penadora, which gets me really excited considering what Penadora means. And it's we see the siren. There's a party at the Sirens where they're cheering literally with the corpse. I believe the corpse is in the building. The corpse is being kept somewhere of Jeremiah, and it's like, cheers to the death of Jeremiah Valeska. We see Jim recognizes a familiar person. I don't know who this guy is, but we have a guy. A SWAT guy comes in, basically the big shot, these guys crashing through the ceiling, and then Jim's recognizes this man. I think you called something actually, TP. Guy crashes through, and he says, Jim's recognizes him as Eduardo. You presume that this guy might be an old war buddy of Gordon's, like a military, like a soldier that he knows. And,
right, yeah.
That seems to be the case. I think you're on the money with that, based on this promo. So the point is, Eduardo is leading a crew, most likely kind of a crew of government strike force guys. Again, presumably, I have a theory about that, but the idea is these guys are probably going to be kind of sold to us as the government has sent in assistance finally. They're there kind of take out the big targets, take out the big threats. That's why they're there. So Jim's warning the Penguin that things are changing because of this development. And then the Riddler. The Riddler has a gun on Penguin, basically the big dog scene from the trailer, from the marketing. Where Riddler is holding a gun on the Penguin. He says, "You made, you broke me. You're responsible for making me kill all those people." So things are heating up between Riddler and the Penguin.
All right.
All right, speculation. What do you got?
I have two basic pieces of speculation here, Dragon. I don't really have much. Number one. So I heard in an interview, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with this bit of news, but Cameron Monaghan said that there was going to be a third version of the Joker.
Interesting. I've heard. Yep.
Now, of course, whether that means it's Jeremiah being resurrected, or if there's like a third twin, or who knows. But suffice to say, Dragon, I don't know. Like, I'm honestly kind of leaning on the idea of Cameron Monaghan playing a third character instead of Jeremiah just getting resurrected.
I'm sorry, so you're in favor of a third character?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it, yes, but I think if they were to introduce just a third character entirely, again played by Cameron Monaghan, it would kind of cement this whole idea of the Joker is not one person, but an idea.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I really think that that's kind of strongly the direction I'm leaning in right now. I don't know if it's going to be a third twin, or if it's like, we know it's going to be played by Cameron Monaghan, and Cameron Monaghan himself said that it was definitely the most twisted version of the Joker that we've seen yet. And considering the the peeling face and everything like that we got from Jerome in season 3, that's saying something.
And remember, in the marketing, we've seen the purple coated Jeremiah. We presume Jeremiah. So again, that most likely is the third. It could be whatever iteration is. It's going to be a third version of it, presumably.
Yeah, that's true. We have seen Jeremiah host this episode in the marketing. That might definitely be an error in the marketing department.
But again, it's a very different looking one, though. I mean, yeah, basically it's Jeremiah, but he looks different, though. So again, whether it could be, again, we don't know if it could be the third lookalike, or again, ultimately what they could do if they really wanted to is, if again, it's assuming that's a different Jeremiah. It could be the same one, just with a different coat. We don't know. But regardless, the ultimate theory I've always had at the beginning is that if we ever saw a glimpse of the Joker, they could just get the same actor. So basically, they could say, when we see a fully realized Joker, it's him. But again, it's kind of a no-name guy who just looks a lot like him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm sorry, your other theory before I hit you with the Jeremiah stuff.
Yeah, let's see. My other theory is, oh crap, hold on. It's just, it's the basic idea that I'm pretty sure that what's going to end up happening with this strike force is that they're going to turn into the bad guys themselves.
How so?
I think because they're going to go after people like Penguin, and Gordon is just going to have to be his altruistic self and be like, no, you can't kill Penguin. If we do that, we're going to be, no better than anyone else in this whole mess.
I see.
Could be totally wrong about this. Could be absolutely wrong. Or they could be working with Bane. Of course, that's kind of like the big thing looming over our heads. Like, what group are we going to see that's actually connected to Bane?
All right, let me rock you with some spec here. Now, again, I'm also going to air some spec from the comments here with Winter Ives. Now, again, Winter Ives and I seem to be simpatico on a few of the Jerome speculations here. I'm just going to hit you. I had 3 theories for Jerome.
Okay.
Sorry, for Jeremiah, but the whole, now you got to be thinking about Jerome, but the whole third actor thing. Anyway, here's my theory about the death here. So, one of 3 ways, I think 2 of which Winter Ives and I are simpatico with here. Okay, so let me throw this at you. Okay, so I was thinking, in terms of resurrection, I got 2 theories in terms of resurrection. One, Proto Harley sneaks in, during this big funeral thing the Sirens are holding. I don't know if they have the body, but it looks like they have the body based on the editing of the promos. Wherever the body is being kept, Harley. Harley gives him some Lazarus water to heal up the wounds and bring him back. Now, the reason I think that she has Lazarus water is because Ra's al Ghul and Jeremiah did orchestrate No Man's Land, which means they were working together. Which wouldn't surprise me if Ra's kind of gave him some Lazarus water for rainy day. It wouldn't surprise me if he did that. So I think that's the easiest way. If you're gonna resurrect him, that's the easiest way to do it. You give him some Lazarus water, which brings him back. Now, the other way of doing this, which again I think Winter Ives might be on the money with this, and again I think this is the prevailing theory in terms of resurrection. Bane, presumably Bane is working with Jeremiah. Like presumably Jeremiah is working with Bane, which is why he's digging the hole to get Bane into Gotham. And presumably there's a partnership going on there. So Bane finds out his partner has died, therefore he wants to bring him back. Now, if this season goes the way I think it's going to go, where Hugo Strange is responsible for Bane's origin, that whole Wayne Enterprises, Wayne Enterprises created Viper, which gets refined into Venom, which connects to the whole Panadora and the Bane of it all. Now, presumably, Bane was created by Hugo Strange in the Gotham's telling of the Bane origin here. Assuming that happens, my guess is that Bane, I guess at some point, not even next episode, maybe the episode after, Bane comes into Gotham, finds out he's dead, and he takes him to Hugo Strange. He takes him to Hugo Strange, and Hugo Strange does essentially what happened with the rebirth of Jerome. Remember, Jerome came back because of Hugo Strange Indian Hill technology.
Yeah.
And that's how the first one came back. So I'm thinking, basically those are the two ways you could legitimately resurrect him. Now there's a third option. The third option I'm factoring here, short of again being a third person, like you've heard in interviews. And again, he could just, regardless, he at the end of the day, however we're going to see the final version of the Joker, which I'm always hoping the end of the season is going to show us a little taste of the Joker. That could be the third one he's talking about. So regardless, either way, again, we're not sure if a third take on the guy what that necessarily means, but third way I'm going to throw this at you. Winter Ives earlier, he kind of threw an interesting idea there that Jerome may have spotted Selina earlier in that scene because he kind of looks over his shoulder. It's kind of unclear if he sees her or not, but regardless, whether he saw her or not, he was given a heads up that Selina wants to kill him. So a theory that I have is that he knew Selina was gunning for him, therefore he prepared for it. Maybe he has a vest or something underneath him, like blood pack, so he's faked his death and he's just kind of playing possum creepily until he can see that. I think that's a legitimate option. I mean, that's the only way I can figure out he could survive being stabbed that many times. But again, it'd be an elaborate thing, but that's the only way he could really do that. I'd figure. So again, basically, Winter Ives also again he kind of echoed the whole Hugo. Whether Bane's involved or not, Hugo Strange might be the one to revive him somehow. So I don't know. But okay, let's go to some other stuff here. Let's see. So Jamie Murray's character, again, this Teresa. Here's my theory with Teresa Walker. Okay, so the lady on the other end of the government line. Here's what I think. Here's what I think the ultimate reveal is going to be. Tiki. I think this is going to be a big one. I think it's all connected. I think that lady is posing as the government. I think she intercepted the signal and she's claimed that she was with the government. Because remember how that broke down, Tiki. Gordon was talking with a male voice that was the face of that was the voice of the government, saying we can't help you. And then at the end of episode 1, I think it was the end of episode 1, we had that comforting voice saying, "Hey, we're going to try to help you," and that was the lady voice. That was Walker. So presumably, that sounds a little, if you really think about that, it's a little too good to be true. So I'm thinking she's posing as the government, and she sends the strike team, and the strike team is working for her, and by proxy, she's working for Bane. That's what I think all of it's connecting to, man. I think it's all connected to that.
You and I are kind of simpatico on the strike force being Bane's minions, probably, most likely.
We know he's going to have a military outfit of some kind because of the big wall shot we started the season off with. So presumably those guys are going to be working for that. And No Man's Land does have some betrayals of cops who went against Jim Gordon and basically kind of upgrading that to soldiers. So again, it is kind of a borrowed No Man's Land idea, but we're connecting it to Bane, which ultimately, the Dark Knight Rises meets the No Man's Land. It's all relative, really. At the end of the day, it's all relative. Kind of funny. So the point is, I think Bane's got his hands in a lot of pockets here because, again, presumably he's working with Jeremiah to get in the city, and of course he's got the strike team kind of posing at it. Basically, who can take over the place through a strike team, through the government, quote unquote. All right, so I guess the last couple things are.
And of course, false hope is one of Bane's big ideologies, from what I know about him.
That is true. That is true. Let's see. So then, okay, Riddler. So Riddler, most chances are Riddler's behind both attacks. I mean, I'm saying the whole rocket launcher thing makes you think the first one is. I mean, there's a chance it could just be two guys at different rocket launchers. Like Bane used the first rocket launcher, Riddler did the second. But I think for simplicity's sake, Riddler was behind them both. But here's why I think that happened. So either Riddler might be working with somebody. Riddler could be working with, and again, here's where I draw the line where I'm thinking they can't just make Bane everything. I don't think he's working with Bane, but it could be. I'm not ruling it out. Like he could basically the blackout personality could have been hired by Bane to do this. I don't think so. It could be Lee. Lee could be the missing equation. You're like, Lee and he are working to kind of take over the city, perhaps. Again, the whole intrinsic link after Hugo Strange kind of fixed them and messed them up with the memories. There's a chance of that, but here's what it also could be. If you really think about what the rocket launchers have accomplished, I think it's all servicing the greater plan of Riddler getting revenge on the. Sorry, let me rephrase this. Okay, so he used the first rocket launcher to again lure the Penguin out and kind of start the gang war. Remember, Penguin kills kills the low boys, and then he's graffitiing on the walls like Penguin was here and killing other gangs in the blackout mode. And now he destroys Haven, which again causes all this uproar of people targeting the wrong people in the gangs and everything, right?
Uh-huh.
So here's what I think they're doing, Tiki, secretly, what I think they might be doing. 0 Year, the big bad guy in that story, the one who's responsible for all of it, is the Riddler. Now, again, I think ultimately Bane's gonna steal his thunder, but I think what's happening is the blackout mode of the Riddler. He's trying to basically kind of take over like he did in 0 Year. That's what I think the Riddler. I think he's trying to take over the whole city on his own by getting rid of the Penguin and stirring up all this trouble with Haven. That's what I think. That's my main theory with the Riddler right now. I think he's trying to take over the whole city.
Okay.
Right. Panadora, again, I'll just say this one sentence in the year with Panadora. I don't think it's going to be the flashback episode I hoped given that promo. Again, I'm not ruling it out, but chances are it's not going to happen. They're not going to do a whole flashback episode, or at least half of a flashback episode about Bane, because otherwise they would have introduced him at the very end of this episode, then done the thing there. But regardless, here's what I do. I will bank on this, Tiki. We got to introduce Bane at the end of the next episode. Otherwise, we're going to have the whole season 1 homage where we have episodes that relate in no part, relate barely to what the episode's title is, Like, that's going to tick me off. It's going to be
Arkham.
Exactly. It could be one of those. Like, it might be them. If they do that, they know exactly what they're doing with that. They know, yeah, we used to do this all the time. So if that happens, that's them intentionally doing that. I'll bet you. Okay, I will bet you. But smart money's on Bane appearing at the end of the episode. They're going to reveal Bane at the end of the next episode. So I'm gonna bet on that. But if not, it's a season 1 tongue-in-cheek callback. All right. As I mentioned earlier, the trial, we set up the trial here. I think ultimately it's going to happen. And I look forward to this if this is what they're doing. We know Aaron Richards is going to direct that episode. So I think Barbara's going to play a role. I think Barbara might be Jim's attorney in that situation. Like she's going to be defending him, which is going to be like, oh, she's going to be on his side for a change. And what I really think is going to happen, I'm really hoping that episode is going to be the whole trial of Jim Gordon episode. I'm hoping that it's going to be the big episode where we kind of dedicate in the last season of the show the big acknowledgement of the whole intrinsic link between how Penguin and Gordon are intrinsically linked. Basically, all the things that they've done link up to him sparing his life in the beginning. I think that's what Barbara's defense is going to be of Gordon. Like you can't condemn Gordon to death. He created you. That sort of argument in court. That's what I think is going to happen. All right, that's all I got. So, final thoughts on your end. What do you got?
Yeah, just really simply, Dragon. It's probably the best episode of the season for me. Really like all the character interactions. They juggled a lot of storylines. Some pretty dark, unexpected things going on. Of course, Robin Lord Taylor's at his best. Doing some fine work. Some really campy performances. Good to see Zaz back again. Really nifty little mystery with the Riddler. And all in all, it's firing on all cylinders. Liked it a lot.
Yeah, I thought this was a great episode. Very surprising with those turns. I think it's a very good. It's very good. The episode's very good for Gordon's arc in No Man's Land, as I mentioned for copious reasons before. I think everything thematically is. I love how everything thematically is in ruin for the episode's title here, where every every character is somewhat in ruin by the end of it. Because Bruce and Selena's thing's in ruin because she seemingly has killed Jeremiah. Jeremiah himself is kind of in ruin. And of course, Haven's down, and everything's kind of gone belly up essentially after the events last episode. Of course, Nigma's world's been kind of shaken, realizing he blew up Haven. So everything's thematically and character wise in ruin, and I dig that. So the episode, the episode as a whole, it's kind of throwing caution. Basically, this episode is like throwing caution to the wind for what's coming next. And I love that's kind of where the episode kind of ends in many ways. So this episode's a solid one for me, man. I really enjoyed it a great deal. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. That's the end of the episode. And remember, kids, things might be dark and scary right now, but there will be light. There will be light.
Next time when we go exploring Gotham yet again. Lucius!